high 80s, and you just don't get that usually here in Michigan in September. And obviously we have to be safe and careful with athletics, especially football going on right now. And there were so many people out there saying, "Oh, it's so hot. This is so dangerous." And then over this course of this week, I've been seeing a lot of commercials on national and local about children that play multiple sports, and that most of the time their injuries come from their secondary sport, and every 90% of injuries, once a doctor looks at it, is just because of overuse and whatever. So all I kept looking at is like, listen, yes, we have advances in science, and we know more about the human body and the gross motor skills of what we can and can't do. But still, when does that all override toughness? When I was a kid, you got your ass outside, you played all day, you ran around until your parents told you can come back in the house. When we played football, and there were some crazy coaches out there, but for the most part, you're outside, you're wearing equipment, you're running around, or you're playing basketball, whatever we're doing. We were out told to be rough and tumble, go have fun. The problem is today, everyone's so soft and worried about all this and that, and that's why all these little kids run around here, fat little kids, and sitting playing on the computer, and everybody's so scared to do everything, because when you go do something, you're looking to see what's wrong or what's the worst that can happen. How about you have a positive mind frame and see all the good things that can happen? Yeah, you fall down, you may get hurt, something may happen, but now we're living in such a fear-driven society that it's going to get to the point where we're not going to do anything. And reason why this is near and dear to me is, yes, in football there are some things, there are studies, there are obviously with concussions and things of that nature, but now people are just it's a brutal, violent game. People are going to get hurt. Playing basketball, you get hurt. Being a pitcher in baseball, ball can come back, hit you in the head. It's been happening for 100+ years, and it's going to keep happening. But we need to stop being so soft as a society and worrying about all the things that can go wrong, and let these kids go out here and play, man. Because I'm telling you what, me being a coach and just out here, at the gyms and working out and hoop courts, there's a lot of sissies out here, and what that also kills is the opportunity for people to be competitive. I've never seen such a generation where no one wants to compete, no one wants to lose, no one wants to get better. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to get a trophy. And you know what? If you're mad at me, you don't like what I'm saying, then you're probably one of the parents who I'm calling a punk that is worried about their kid participating and maybe hoping they get in the game. Or listen, we weren't all created equal as far as on the level sports playing field. Some are better than others. The best will play. Cream rises to the top. But as long as your kid's out there and he's playing and trying and competing, let him. And stop using injury as an excuse or overuse or whatever. Because you know what? From that time period, from about 13 until 18, most guys will never play anything but pick up sports and never be able to play football in the way they can in high school. So everyone, if you're listening and you're one of those people, stop being a sissy, send your kids outside, and don't let them come in until the lights come on. And if they want to go play a violent sport, tough sport, let them do it. Just make sure you take the extra precautions. But after that, stop crying. And that rant today was brought to you by Beirut Palace. Hey, sports fans, where can you find exotic and friendly surroundings, fine dining, and the taste of the Middle East and American cuisine? The Beirut Palace and its 4 locations serves food just like a homemade meal in your own home. Hummus, salads of your choice, kebabs, and their famous shawarma sandwiches that are great and fit into any budget. So make your dining plans out and go to one of the 4 Beirut locations. And when in Royal Oak, stop by the Beirut Palace at 205 South Main Street. Ask Ramo and tell them that you heard about the restaurant on the Rockin' Turk Sports Show and get 10% off your meal. For more information, call them at 248-399-4600 or go to their website at www.beirutpalace.com. Do it today. What's going on, Dom?
How's it going?
I'm hanging in there. You back from your villainy, your Comic-Con. You were in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Yeah, I like Baltimore. It was nice. I stayed right down the street from the convention center, which is across the street from Camden Yards. So a little Federal Hill area, real nice. Like, I don't know, from what you hear about Baltimore and the news and everything going on, I didn't set the bar too high, but I thought it was a great city. On the water there, I'd never really been there before, so I liked it, and I love the rant. That was awesome.
Hey, man, I just, I've had enough of it, man. Just people are just, listen, we were rough. Our parents made it. Our grandparents made it, and they didn't have the science and knowledge we have. Yeah, they figured out the things that we shouldn't do. But for the most part, man, we're not gonna get hurt, and just tired of everybody being. And I know you dealt with it. You told me being a hockey coach, you know, you dealt with parents and kids that just get a little bump or bruise, or you know, there's some kind of challenge and they just either quit or they cry or it's too hard or just whatever it is. So I'm just tired of it, man, because if your kid plays for me, I'm gonna be fair, but I'm gonna be tough because we put out we're gonna be hammers, not nails.
Right. You know, if you're worried about bumps and bruises, then probably if you're in a sport like football, hockey, lacrosse, or any of these, it's probably in the wrong sport. If they can't handle that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of other sports. We don't have to worry about that.
But the problem that it presents, you see that little thing, but now you're instilling something in their subconscious and their conscious that it's either okay to quit when something gets too hard, or to find some kind of either manufactured or a minute reason not to do something, which will just multiply. And just like all the good things that you get from sports that spread into your life and help you get better, it's the same thing if you create that thought process, like the trophy thing, right? Everyone, listen, not everybody can be a winner. I'm not saying everybody's a loser, but not everybody can be a winner. But you know what? Wanting that trophy and wanting to be the best is what strived and pushed us to be where we're at now, and do things like that. And we've taken that into our professional lives. I did not, and you know what the thing is? I wouldn't, and I tell you this, not looking back, if I was a kid and I got a trophy for doing nothing, I don't want this. I used to get participation trophies when I was a kid in track, and I tell my dad, throw them away.
Yeah, I remember coaches slamming the second place trophy on the ground, and the participation trophies didn't even exist. I don't even know what happened to that damn thing. But
so, I don't know. It burns me up. I had a bunch of things I want to talk about, but it was really. I heard a commercial today, and I was like, "That's going to be it," because I've heard that 3 times this week already. And there was no like really give us a call today or see if we can help. It's just like a public service announcement, like about don't do anything, just sit on your ass.
Right. I mean, it's some kids are be good on a team like football or hockey where there's contact. Like I wasn't good in golf and tennis and that kind of stuff. I didn't have the the mindset for something like that. So did I quit playing tennis and golf? Well, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I liked football and knocking somebody's head off. That was a lot more fun for me.
We're big dudes, so after a while, you want to go somewhere you're not getting in trouble for knocking people down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, give us a call today if you want to get through. We got a lot of things to talk about, a couple quote unquote controversial topics. I think some of you guys know what we're talking about, but if you do, give us a call at 248-721-8570 or hit us up on Twitter. If you can't get through on the line, it's the Rock and Turk Sports. It's Rock, the letter N, Turk, and Sports with a Z. But before we get started with today's show, we just want to let you know that it is brought to you and sponsored by Blaze Contracting.
Turk Sports Show is brought to you in part by
I thought your rant was going to be longer, but I'm like, damn it, Rock.
That's all right. I can make it straight. Right, there's
aggregate installations, land balance and grading, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, and water main installations throughout Michigan, Ohio, and Blaze has successfully completed meaningful high-profile
Take a break for a little while. Have some water. Get some orange slices.
major corporations and developers doing business in Detroit and across America. Currently, Blaze has several major projects going on in Metro Detroit, including
I got some weird
the Little
room.
Caesars headquarters building, the Detroit Brush Park development, the Flexing Gate Auto Supply plant, and the
Hey,
new
when this is
Little
over,
Caesars
we'll just go right into the
Hey, sports fans,
NFL
if
classic.
you're out there listening and you are involved in the development and construction process of upgrading or improving exterior property or infrastructure, you need to give Blaze a call. They can provide valuable assistance from the beginning stages all the way through the budgeting, design, and of course, the construction process phase of your project. You will experience the
Always gotta have a cup.
by Blaze that will
Always gotta have his own cup.
complete it on time and within
You want a chalice?
allow Blaze to
Do you have one?
success. Give them a call today. Call
I forgot mine.
361-1000 or visit their website at www.blazecontracting.com.
Well, I made it. Finally. This is Turk coming into the Turk Sports Show. I missed the first part, but I just want to say that I did agree with you on what you said about the young kids. I was listening on the way in.
I know you do, because Lil J, I can tell right now, he's going to be rough.
It's going to be rough, man. You see, it's either he's going to hit somebody or he's going to hit me. So we got to figure that out. So to those parents out there that might be playing with Lil J, sorry.
For me, it was both.
Can't help that. Can't help that. So, this week in sports, man, what a crazy week we had. I think we could go this week in sports and just do that for the whole show.
Yeah.
This was one of the wildest weeks.
It was every day,
like
Monday,
every
Tuesday,
day.
Wednesday.
It was like bum of the week, crazy in sports, like what is going on? So this week in sports, so NBA is about to tip off, obviously. Carmelo Anthony finally gets traded to, of all places, Oklahoma City. He's down there with Paul George, Russell Westbrook. The Knicks basically got nothing in return. I mean, it was basically garbage. Cantor is a bad contract.
Yeah.
He can't play defense. He's probably a guy that you can't start, but he can play.
He can put up points.
He can put up points, but he's not a two-way player. So other than that, it wasn't much to that trade. Carmelo goes into a situation where he says he's starting. I'm interested to see if they're going to go that Golden State role with the small ball and Steve Adams. It looks like that's what they're going to do. We'll see how it works.
Did you see his first interview when the guy asked him?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He said he started.
He tripped out. He's like, who, me?
He was like, so you come off the bench, he's like, oh, me, Carmelo? Like, he started referring to himself in third person. So, Melo's starting. So, I don't know. What's your thoughts on the trade, Oklahoma City getting Carmelo? Does this move them up at all in the West? Are they still right where they were before? Maybe in that top 4, maybe in that top 5 range. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are, most people know why I use my coach brain and my realism brain. I like the trade because, just get over the super team thing. It's going to happen, right? But if you're going to do it, let's do it so that they are, so everything is competitive. You know what I'm saying? So I think with Paul George and Russell and him now, and Albert Robertson. The thing is, you got to worry about the bench now. But I think that they will compete. Do I move them? Here's the real thing is, we don't know what Houston's going to be, right? They had a mass exodus of players, and they brought in a bunch of guys. And obviously, we know Golden State. I don't think any of them have done anything other than, and I'm not going to say the Cavs to dethrone them, but D Wade is a good pickup for the Cavs. I think that's more. But everybody keeps saying OKC is a threat. They're a threat. And I think they're going to be a good team. I mean, what else you want to do? I mean, I think the problem is Carmelo going to buy into the team aspect? Because with playing with a guy like Westbrook, if Durant was patient with him, and he mainly, one of his reasons he left because he wanted to be more. Yeah. What is Carmelo going to do? And he's going to be the third option. He's going to be the third option.
At this point in his career, he can't be a guy that wants to get the most shots.
Turk, did you eat that whole shawarma?
I did not. I ate just one bite. It was Beirut Palace. Almost shout out to Beirut.
All right, sorry.
Shout out to my man Mo for the shawarma. Almost ate the whole thing.
It was one bite. You put it down like savage.
Wait. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think he's going to get shots. He's not going to get possessions. That's what he's got to understand. Westbrook is he's going to pound the ball. Carmelo's going to get shots, but he's not going to get possessions where he's going to have an ISO ball. He's not going to get that in OKC. He's got to buy into that.
But let me ask you this, because you just said Cantor, doesn't play defense. Now with him being in the West, the stretch fours are probably a little tougher for him to guard now than in the East. You got LaMarcus Aldridge, you got
Draymond Green.
Yep, you got
which is a bad matchup for him defensively.
Ariza, who's an athlete, can run around, and I think Carmelo's kind of a stick. He's stiff, right?
Yeah.
So I think
he's got to buy in defensively.
So you got two things. Is he going to buy in defensively? Is he going to be a liability defensively? And is he going to be able to handle it when Russ puts up 45 shots and he may only get 10?
He's going to have to be able to do the grunt. Robertson's there to do the grunt work. Steven Adams grunt work. Carmelo's got to be that guy that if his shot's not on, he's got to bring something to the table. Because it's going to be Paul George and Westbrook. They're younger. They have more ability to get good quality shots. Carmelo can get you good. I think 15 shots is probably where he needs to be. And he's shooting 22 shots a game, then it's junk. Because
or he's not playing within the rules confined to the offense.
Yeah. So,
but here's the other thing too. My question: everybody's already crowning them or saying this will be the tough. Okay, Westbrook's going to play. He hasn't signed that extension, which is telling, right? He made I was wedding or had a baby. Like you just put your name on the paper, bro.
Yeah.
So that's telling me he's not coming back. We already know Paul George was going to play for the Lakers. And this is a 1-year deal.
It's 1 year for everybody. Really.
So my thing is when things don't go well, or let's say a Heat type situation their first year, if they, one time with Heat, they were like 9-11 or something, they had to lose a record, are they going to be able to keep it together? Plus, they don't have they're like, to me, Boston, like you said earlier, Boston looks good when you first open it up, but then as you get deep into the box, they don't have any depth. So I think.
I will say this, though. I saw the breakdown of Cleveland's with Dwayne Wade now, of Cleveland's top 10 players. That's about a good quality.
That's a second NBA team.
That's a depth. LeBron's had as much depth as he's ever had. I mean, you're talking about D. Rose, J.R. Smith, Kyle Korver, and Crowder.
And they're trying to get rid of Shumpert for somebody else.
Yeah, and that 10 didn't even include Shumpert. So they had Crowder and Fry as their backup. So they had D. Wade, and IT, Bron, Kevin Love, and Tristan as their starters. So I mean, they're a 10 deep team easy with a lot of versatility. The D. Wade trade made that happen. JR off the bench is always a better option in my opinion.
Yes.
That's where he belongs. But we don't want to get too much into NBA. I know NBA started earlier this year, but there's so much to talk about with that. Next topic. This one is crazy. All right, this is just crazy. It's crazy because we all know this has been happening since the beginning of time, right? We know about the back channel between the AAU and high school programs and the shoe programs and the college boosters and the college coaches. And it's never the head coach never knows about it, but the assistant coach knows about it all the time. So it's crazy. This NCAA thing, obviously the FBI went in and raided the Adidas files, and now it sounds like they got Nike. They got a couple guys who are willing to testify. And, you see a bunch of assistant coaches going down, but then the big fish goes. Like Rick Pitino gets fired in the AD of Louisville. He didn't get fired with the whole prostitute situation down there. That didn't do it. But the money between apparently his school with Louisville and these high school handlers is what got him fired. So, my question, is this the end of the NCAA as we know it? Is this the end of some Power 5 programs as we know it? Are we going to see death sentences in all of this? What is the outcome? Are we just going to see a bunch of head coaches get fired? I guess that's a lot of questions, but what's the outcome of this? What's going to happen? Because this is a big story. I don't think a lot of people know how big this is until it really gets full-blown circle.
I think that for me and you, me having played AAU basketball when I was younger and us both of us playing major college football, we understand that this, and I got a story I can't get into who it is, but this goes on everywhere. All right,
everywhere.
And this is for football right now. 2003, buddy of mine, we were playing professional ball, and he was going on 2 visits, right? And he I can't name the schools. I don't want to give what the coaches are, but they were 2 top, 15 programs. And he wanted to go and tell the coach, hey, I'm going to this school on this visit, but I just want to go because coach was really good to me in the process, and I want to be a man and tell him to his face that I'm not coming. And he goes and sits down with the coach, and he says, I'm coach, I love everything about this. I made my choice to go to the other school. And he said, no. He said, listen, coach, they're giving me everything but the kitchen sink. And this coach, very, popular coach, said, we'll throw in the kitchen sink. And for what he was getting at the one school he was at, I can't imagine that. And this was back in 2003, and this is in football. So basketball is a little bit easier to manage because there's less guys and they keep their mouth shut, and there's easier for you to get your hands on them. And I think what this is, and I talked to my pops, we were having a conversation because we watched this show called Billions, and it really sounds like an episode out of that. You got this Southern District judge and these people that just all of a sudden throw this case out with stuff that's happening all the time. And here's what happened. The whole, how this story broke down is they weren't necessarily investigating NCAA. There was in 2003 or 4, there was a gentleman, I got it right here, I'm sorry. His name is the third. He's worked at Pittsburgh, he's a Pittsburgh-based financial advisor, and he's been doing a multiple of financial crimes. How it started was he talked to some of his financial clients he was advising. He wanted to invest in some movies. The guy said no, and after he said no, he went to his account, took out $500,000, invested it into a movie. When the guy found out, the player found out, he went to another player, stole the money out of his account to put it back, and it was basically he created a Ponzi scheme. The shoe companies who just want to get a hold of these young cats, go in here, everybody's going to get their little hand wet. But here's my thing. Bottom line is, we said this, it's not right. But basically, you're looking at these companies are giving money to people of disadvantaged people, more likely.
Influencing where they go to school.
And we're not talking about anybody. We're talking about these guys are going to be lottery picks or they're going to play in the NFL. So, yes, it's wrong with that, but it happens everywhere. If you have, and they don't, and the NCAA wants to keep, you know what, have far, like, well, here's what's going to happen. I heard it today, which I don't have a problem with. The G League, which used to be the D League, they're saying now is going to be the profession. They're going to, if a kid wants to come out, little J wants to come out and play, okay, we're going to draft you. They're going to actually give them a $500,000 to $1 million salary, right? They got to stay in the G League for 2 years, and then they come after they get the development, they go.
They go to draft.
And then and they were talking about setting up like baseball. You know, baseball, if you get drafted, you can leave, but if you go to school, you have to stay for 3 years. You can't come out. So I think that'll help. I don't think nothing was worse than SMU as far as the money scandals and things that went on there. It's about comparable. You have this guy, the crime aspect comes from this, because they asked him today and they said, if this guy hadn't snitched, would you? No, it's not even on our radar. Why? Because they do a lot of words on it. Corruption, conspiracy. I don't know about all that. It's some guys getting paid, changing money, maybe breaking the rules. And how, my thing is like this. How, if the NCAA wants to come and hammer people so hard or tell you can't do this or that, you can't. This is big. And this is what they said. This is 10 coaches now. They said it's up to 50 to 60 schools that are involved.
50, 60.
You telling me that the NCAA, you're supposed to be on top of your stuff, and you have this something this big and this deep?
No, the problem is the NCAA knew. They just knew
it's
this
that
is
money,
how the
bro.
game was played. This is how the game. They didn't want to crack this egg. Only reason they're cracking it because of the FBI. And just like, what was the story we found that the guy found out by mistake? The Houston Nutt story. Yeah. Right. Like, you know, somebody always stumbles up on your dirt. So this guy, back against the wall, he's giving you all the juicy details about the college game.
And that was going to be my rant, but I went to the other thing was, don't be a snitch. You know what? If you're going to break the law and you're going to do what you're going to do,
go to jail, man.
Take the consequences of it, but don't start telling on people.
Stop snitching. But you know, the funny thing, not the funny, but sad thing about all this is that the NCAA, the reason that this happens is because there's a large influx of money that they don't have anything to do with, because it's just profit. All these people just have this profit. They profit so much from the college game.
Well, that's what.
And they don't have anybody to pay. It's like, okay, we got to do something with some of this money to make sure that this thing keeps afloat. If they ever came up with a system to pay, they wouldn't have so much corruption. They wouldn't have all this money to use.
But
they've got no overhead.
The term student athlete was came basically from the same definition as an indentured servant, and they coined the phrase so they wouldn't have to pay them. So, but here's the thing, and Charles Barkley said it great today. And I like him because he said we're all responsible as far as in the basketball community. He said ESPN's responsible for paying these big contracts for the TV. CBS is responsible for all the money we spend for March Madness. And then he just went down the line, and everyone who's involved in NCAA.
$1 billion industry, man. You're creating $1 billion industry, and you're not paying the number one draw. You're not paying the number one draw. I don't understand how they would think that these guys don't want their cut. They don't get their cut legally. They should get their cut illegally. I'm not out here telling somebody to break the law, but it's quite ridiculous that that you think about the amount of money that exchanges hands for a bunch of guys who don't get paid.
But here's the other thing.
It's ridiculous.
Like you're saying, it's the fact that people don't pay them. Because, okay, if you don't want to give them, per se, the money in hand, there have been plenty of guys who said, listen, you take this money, you put it, it's a two-way, you put it in a trust, right? And keep dumping this money into whatever. And then when that young man, whatever they come up, and they don't even want to do that because, okay, this dude could walk away with $200,000. What kid was on full scholarship, right, walks out with $200,000 in his pocket? That's a pretty good way to start life off and then getting into your career. Why? And that's still cheap as hell compared to the amount of money.
And I even thought, when you hear about the Chris Webber story and about when him and Mitch Albom was downtown and he looked at his jersey, he wanted to borrow some gas money from Mitch, and they selling his jersey in the bookstore. And I thought, why? If the more popular are, the way the popular guys get paid, you give them a percentage of the sales of their jersey. What's wrong with that?
Because it comes back to the rant. It's not fair. And I just said that, you know what? Some of us, me and you, were better and dumb athletically than some of our peers, and we reaped that because we just were physically, God gave us gifts that he didn't give you. So why should I be punished not saying that you shouldn't get something, but why should I be punished and not make money? So yeah, if you go, or your time is past, but if Lil J gets in there and he goes to Notre Dame or Ohio State and he's playing and his jersey sale, Michigan, and his sales are number one, whatever, and he's balling out of control like he's like my man from Louisville, right? And his jersey's flying off the shelf.
Off the shelf, but he didn't get one penny off.
Why shouldn't he get?
Why wouldn't that money go into a trust? And we're talking about above and beyond. If you want to just look at the baseline, like, oh, they're getting a college education, that's fine, all right? You take the money and pay their part of their college education, because obviously the schools aren't doing that as a loss, paying the college education, because what they're making in profit far outweighs it. And the money that the schools make is not comparable to the money that the NCAA makes, the Big Ten makes as a whole, the shoe companies make, all of that. That's on top. The shoe companies don't pay, Michigan. Off of their profits. They pay them. They have a shoe contract with them, but they're not paying them as a thank you because we got to market your best players. They're not paying them that money.
When you're in the pros, don't you get a?
Yeah, you do.
You get
a percentage of your sales. Yes,
like you're with Nike, you're with Reebok.
No, not just that, but you're officially licensed. Like
so in the
jersey,
pros, it's individual.
they actually get paid off of sales of their jerseys.
Even in video games,
they're licensed. That's why they get licensed. Everybody gets a percentage of sales off of that.
Right. So you remember when we used to play the video game and Bill Belichick, it wouldn't say Bill Belichick, it says New England coach.
Right.
Because he didn't sell his right. He didn't. So everyone gets I think it used to be like everybody, all NFL dudes got a free game and like $5,000 for being in Madden. Letting us use your rights, your likeness, and all that type of stuff.
But they do get a percentage of sales on jerseys and anything that bears their name.
Yeah, if you're a college player, I think if it says Nike on your jersey, they're using your image and likeness to sell the product. You should get part of that.
And the thing is, you know how they get around it though in college though. You'll see it a lot. And it's not as prevalent as it used to be. They won't put Weber's name on the back of it. Yeah. They'll sell you that number 4 jersey, right? But everybody knows that's the Chris Webber jersey.
Well, they got scared because what happened with the NCAA video game dodged the bullet. I mean, they had to pay out some stuff, but like, what if that would have been retroactive for like all sports and all people? They would have had to come out of their pocket, especially during that Fab Five.
I'm interested to see this NCAA. This thing, the fact that Rick Pitino got fired a day after he got. And he came out with a statement like, I don't know anything about this. And it's like, Mr. President was like, well, you're fired. Don't think the president didn't know.
They're not fired. Technically, they're not fired. What it is he's on an unpaid leave, and the AD is on a paid leave. But the AD, they let him go because he wouldn't fire Rick Pitino. He said, go fire him. He said, no. But Pitino's gone, but they had to give him 10-day notice before they fired him.
Pitino, they owe him $40 million on his contract.
That's why he said all that, because he's trying to figure out how do I keep.
Oh, he's getting his money. Unless you can prove, unless you got his name on.
They got today before we came into the show. There's some stuff that came out. It doesn't have. He's called Coach 2 and all this. And,
they have to actually not connect his assistant coach. They have to connect Pitino to this to go to court and get rid of him.
And here's how you know he was doing it, because the one thing that the FBI agent said was he was and he kept himself well insulated, and he wasn't at any that's how you know he's been doing it for a long time. But here's what's going to happen. Now I'll answer your question, because I know you asked a lot. Here's the answer to your question. Will the NCAA be done? Yes, if Rick Pitino flips and says, I've been doing this for 20 years and so has the rest of everybody, and he starts
he got $40 million to tell him that he needs to shut up.
I'm not saying he's going to say it after he gets his
money.
Maybe
he get that check first,
and then he writes a tell-all book.
Yeah. Maybe that's happened, but that story is going to be something we follow for the next couple weeks, I think.
Weeks? We're going to be talking about this until bowl season. Because listen to me, ladies and gentlemen, as Turk likes to say, exclusive here first. If you don't think this is going to bleed over into football in some way, especially down there in Louisville, because Lamar Jackson's probably getting some. There's guys down there getting money because we saw.
Ain't nobody down in Louisville getting more money than Lamar Jackson.
This guy, Blazer, was involved in that whole situation at UNC with Robert Quinn and all those guys. So
years ago, he came back alive.
So if you don't, that was football. So if you don't think, and that's why, and I was listening to ESPN today, and there are the guys that got all the connects and stuff, and their sources. They said their sources been calling them saying, "Hey, have you heard anything, or do you know?" Because and he said it wasn't basketball coaches. That means cats are shook to see, because this was a 3-year investigation.
People at home like, man, did I use my alias or my real name when I filled that out?
Here's what they have, man. As the president say, they tapped their wires. They had surveillance video, undercover agents, cooperating witnesses, all kinds of stuff. So with that, hey, this is not over in any sense of the imagination. So
yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned to the Rocket Turk Show. we'll be here to guide you through this step by step as you see the downfall of the NCAA.
All right, Turk, I'm gonna ask you a quick question because I've been dealing with this all week and I'm a little fatigued on it, but I got some things that I'll get into, but I want you to get your take on it first. So, as we are, I'm sorry, people. You know, we'll get into the games last week's and our predictions this week's, and we'll get into the Lions ending. But obviously, the big news was last Friday, your president of the United States came out and I'll tell you why he said it too. But he came out and he basically called guys that taking the SOBs and that the owner should fire them and it wouldn't be this and this and that. Now, first of all, I'm going to give you a little side note why he did it. He did it because if you haven't been paying attention to the news this week, what came out about his son, his daughter, a couple things going on with them using the private email accounts just like Hillary Clinton. They just found out Jared Kushner is also signed up as a secondary voter in New York as a female. Okay, so then he talked about voter fraud. So all the things he talks about. So this was what we like to say, aiming us to be mad talking about this because there's a lot of things that came under the radar this week. But anyway, he says this on it was a Friday or Saturday, and it was outrage. And you know when you get athletes and billionaire owners, you're not going to tell me what to do. What are your thoughts about how the weekend went? Let's say starting Sunday.
You know, 248-721-8570, and we're gonna decompress a little bit right here because I know everybody's got their different spins on this and different takes, and we're a sports show, but you can't talk sports without talking politics sometimes, and I was very disappointed in the tone at which our president used when addressing this issue. And I think the bigger thing that I get out of all of this is that we talk about Colin Kaepernick all the time. We talk about why he did what he did. And I think that all of this pile on and all of this traffic that we have on the situation, everyone's gotten so far away from why he started this whole movement. And that includes the people who are locking arms on Sunday. Because what it's turned into now, Colin Kaepernick was bringing awareness to an issue about police brutality and about inequality in the African American system versus a white American system. That was what he started his kneel and his protest about. That's what he said that when they actually asked him. That's what he responded with. He didn't say I'm doing this because I don't need the president to tell me what to do. But what I saw on Sunday was a bunch of guys saying the president's not going to tell me what to do. Right? So. You know, I think I don't know if it's done on purpose, but I feel I'm disappointed that we've gotten to a place to where we're focused on who's kneeling, who's not kneeling, rather than why they're kneeling and what the bigger issue is about. And like I said, I don't want to get into too much politics, but it's almost like you said, Trump, he almost threw like an underhand pinch out there just to. Indirectly, I don't want to go conspiracy theory, but this whole, with Trump coming out, the enemy used to be the NFL owners, right? A week ago, the enemy was the NFL owners.
Not him, because he's their 7 owners that gave him $1 million.
Well, even those guys opposed him. So now they look like heroes, and now the enemy is back to Trump, who's always been the enemy to a lot of people.
Right.
The people, I can guarantee you this, the people who are boycotting the NFL, who are with Colin Kaepernick, the percentage of those people that actually are Trump supporters, I would guarantee is less than 5%.
Yeah.
All right. So people who didn't like Trump already are the same people who were against the owners, who were already against Trump. So now they've redirected that energy towards Trump. I just think that it's created a big, just traffic jam of mess.
Well, here's what I like to say, and I've talked to some people this week, so just get a couple things clear, because I speak on this greatly because. I have 4. Both my grandfathers served in World War II, and I have uncles that were in the Marines, in the Army and the Marines. So I can talk about this, and I've talked to some other guys, white and black, about what is this. And most of the military people I talk to say, everyone says this is disrespectful. There'll be some guys here, but this is what I did this for. This is
right to protest.
Because we go to other lands to give people these rights. So, but here's what I want to say. And I'm telling you, I'm going to say some things, and it's not to be argumentative, it's just to speak the truth. White people if it doesn't fit into your box.
That's a harsh way to start the.
Well, but
it's not like.
I didn't say all white people. I'm not generalizing. I can't pick out Bobby Susie. I can't pick out who isn't.
Okay, you got to say some
okay.
White people.
I'm just saying white people. Some white people.
Okay.
Okay. They're Turk's the good guys.
Yeah.
All right. Confused that and a lot of people in life in general, if it doesn't, like Dom said earlier, we were talking. He said, if it doesn't, what'd you say? It's all great. Freedom of speech is great until you say something I don't like.
Right. Yeah. Right. And that's the kind of way society is becoming. Social media age and all of it.
So but here's what everybody keeps saying, they're a patriot, Colin Kaepernick is unpatriotic and all this. Well, we need to also, and if you're going to get on the Twitter, and I tell you this all the time on the show, I try to speak as much fact as possible, don't make stuff up or don't leave it out there, and same thing when I do things on social media. Here is what the definition of patriotism is. Healthy pride in your country that brings about feelings of loyalty and a desire to help other citizens with a willingness to sacrifice for the country and or the people. I would say that he fits in that, right? He sacrificed his career and himself for the good of other citizens, right? And if he's doing that, he does care about the country, right? Because if he didn't care about the country, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, real quick, for people that think that Colin Kaepernick decided to throw away millions just to be a distraction, that logic makes no sense. He threw away, he laid on the sword because this was something that he was passionate about, that he wanted to talk about. But he knew I'm sure he along the way his agent said, you're committing career suicide. Your friends, you're committing career suicide. I believe in it, I'm still doing it. And so it's not like he's just doing this as a distraction. He committed career suicide for a reason.
No, and we'll get back to that too, because I got another question. So the definition of nationalism is the doctrine that your national culture and interests are superior to any others. Now, why I say listen to what you are, because most of the arguments out here and what they're saying is nationalism. And nationalism fits for the country, because if you expand the definition, it says your country over another country. But what we're talking about, the key word in this was your national culture and interest. So, as they say, some white people or white people, their national culture or interest are superior to any others, which is mainly minorities. Not just black, because Colin Kaepernick also didn't just say black people, he said people of color, minorities, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of you people out there that think, because in essence, by Colin Kaepernick stepping up, he is a patriot. He is a patriot. And most of you people out there are nationalists, or even some of them say it's called Americanism, right? So make sure before you start arguing and saying something about this and that, and like Dom said, if you don't like what he's doing, see, here's the thing. People think the flag and military, when a serviceman signs up, he's signing up to defend the Constitution and all the freedoms that come with it, not the flag.
I think people that was a play on words. People got mixed up in this whole thing.
Yeah, but
you're not defending the flag, you're defending the Constitution. The rights, the freedom that we have, that's what you're defending. One of those freedoms is the right to protest peacefully.
And I'm going to give a shout out, I don't know if he's listening, my man Henry Bell, I played at Purdue. He's been out there, he does big things in California. He's helped a lot of guys get to college and NFL through his company out there that I don't think he's still running, but he used to be involved in high school athletics. He said that there's if you want to check it out, I think it's either October 1st or next Friday, there's a series on Netflix called 13th.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't seen it, type it in, look at the preview of it, and you will see why and if you still think a guy shouldn't take a knee after seeing it, then I'm not trying to convince you, we're just trying to have you look at someone's other side of the story of what's going on, because you'll say, well, put yourself in those shoes. Would you be as gung-ho to yell at these cats if you really understood what happened? You'll never experience what happens to people.
And like I said, we're gonna take our time, because I think that, like I said, sometimes sports and politics intersect, and we're both two black sports broadcasts, so we're gonna have a slanted opinion on this, and I think everybody has a slanted opinion.
But also, we have an opinion of, you have one person here's dark skinned, and you have one person here's light skinned, and even though our complexions are different, we have experienced the same thing, maybe in a different way, but we've both experienced it. So what it comes down to is, it's not about necessarily always how you look, it's just what being black you are perceived of, or what's been subconsciously built into people's minds.
Yeah. And And one thing that I say all the time, and I think that until our country gets past this thing, we're going to always be at odds. And I don't understand why people get so upset about this issue, because especially since it's peaceful. If it was violent or something, it'd be different. But protests are supposed to be, make you uncomfortable. That's the whole point. Otherwise, it won't be a protest.
What this country's
But
built on.
I think that just in general, and this is where I don't think, and I don't use the racism word quick, because I don't think everything's racism. I don't think everything's prejudice. But I do think in general that from one side of a point of view to the other, I think people have a fear that there is a finite amount of privilege in this country. That is not infinite. That is a finite amount, right, of equality in this country, right? And if for some reason that another group gets the same rights as me, then it will lessen
something from me.
Yeah, it will take something away from me. And I think that is a tangible fear that a lot of people have. And it's not necessarily built in hate. It's built in fear of the unknown. Yeah, it's a learned behavior. It's fear of the unknown. And I think a lot of times when you see, I mean, it's a perfect example. You got guys who take a knee, and I mean, social media all it does is expose the ugliness of people. So you got people talking about these no good N-words or these degenerates, and we're talking about nobody's attacking from the other side. They're taking a knee. So I guess we understand if somebody's peaceful on one side and you're angry on the other side, then there's a problem here. You're not reciprocating the same thing that they're giving out.
Not just angry, because I don't have a problem with somebody being upset, but your response is with such vitriol and anger and hatred.
Yeah, like we say in the street, why are you so mad, bro? Why are you so mad? Like, really? And I would like to know people who, if we are, and I mean, seriously, if you listen to the show, 248-721-8570, you may have a reason why you think that these guys shouldn't have the right to kneel over the flag. It may piss you off. It may just be a respect issue. My father was in Vietnam. I mean, he still watches it. He's not boycotting the NFL over this issue. He still watches the game. It is not an issue to him. And I think that it is more ethnic than it is patriotic. I think the fold is not whether you're military or not. It's whether you're black military or you're white military. That's really, and when you start to see that definitive line, then you got to open this thing up and say, okay, is this really about patriotism?
Well, I can tell you right off the bat that my grandfather, my mother's father, fought in World War II.
Yeah.
He was in Italy. He was in all over Europe, and really got to it's war, but he got to enjoy himself. He stopped because that racism wasn't over there.
Mm-hmm.
And when everything was over,
when he came
back home,
oh, yeah.
He just risked his lives for all these freedoms we have, and he could experience none of them here until he was in his 50s.
Yeah, my father's the same way. I mean, that's a life that I don't think a lot of people realize that is not. We're not talking about centuries away. We're talking about decades away. That this happened where guys fought, shed blood, friends died for the rights that when they got home they didn't have. Yet their grandchildren or their children, you're damning them for not being patriotic.
Or think about this. Did you ever meet your great grandfather?
Yes.
Okay. Think about this.
I mean, I was super young, but yeah.
Okay, think about this. My father's great grandfather was a slave.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So there are people that are alive who've met their ancestors, in their line, that at one point they were on the tail end of it, but they were still slaves.
Well, my grandfather's father, and we're gonna turn this into the history.
Well, I'm just saying.
My grandfather's father was a sharecropper in Alabama. So yeah, I mean.
So people don't understand that. It's not like it's so far away.
And my mother, she picked cotton growing up, and she told me stories about. She literally in Alabama, she still picked cotton growing up, and when she came, she babysat for a family. When she would come north, they would stop places and they would say, "You can't come in here. It's for your own good. It's safe." She told me these stories. This is my mom.
Well, our parents grew up with Jim Crow.
Yeah, so I think that people don't understand that. They say, it's not a big deal, and this is a reality that I think you can't. Your reality is your history, and I think people who think that is not are naive. Your history is your reality. It molds who you are, where you came from. So if you have a good sound foundation of your history, then it makes you a little more aware or conscious of situations that you may not have looked at that certain way before.
Absolutely.
Whether that's good or bad, that's the reality of it. Like people have a history, and they're tied to it. So we're gonna follow this whole, we're gonna see what happens this week. More and more people saying I'm not watching NFL, I'm boycotting. I say, hey, at the end of the day,
you won't be bored on Sunday, so I don't believe that one bit.
Yeah, the players are gonna have to decide how big of an issue this is for them, if they really believe in it, or if they're going to succumb to the dollar, or just fashionable. And I've always said that this is not my boycott. This is an NFL boycott because fans aren't uncomfortable when they see me not watching the game. They'll get real uncomfortable if they see players not playing in the game. So that's what
happened in Missouri.
Yeah,
remember Missouri?
Happened in Missouri. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. And is it a black and white issue? Absolutely. Does that mean that
why so quiet, Dom?
I have a question.
Go ahead. Dom's got a question. What you got?
Okay, so would it be confusing if Tim Tebow was still in the league and he was taking the knee? Is he praying?
Yeah, but
is he making a
but
statement?
here's the thing, he did do that, right? I don't know if he did it during the anthem.
No, like he was in the league today.
Yeah, but
he didn't do it during the anthem.
Yeah, but he was still getting
Right.
flack for it, and he wasn't creating a spectacle. He just went, he did it in college after the anthem or before.
Yeah,
whatever.
he did it every hard time. He was a Bible beater and all that stuff.
But
Right.
it wasn't. But the thing was the hatred.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, obviously you got people who are agnostic and atheists and they don't want religion on it. But he did it to himself on the side, and they gave it. But he didn't get the hate.
He didn't get the I'm not watching the NFL no more. Get this no.
You Christian people are bums and
don't get this SOB out of here.
Yeah.
He wasn't protesting anything though. He was
I
just
understand
praying.
that, but it was once it became unpopular, people start bringing it up. People just like to be angry about stuff. So with that,
But if he was just kneeling all, like, is he?
Yeah.
Which side is he on?
You know what? Honestly, I will say this though: if Tim Tebow was still in the league, he would have been one of the first white people to kneel.
But I'm gonna tell you,
say what you want about Tebow. Yeah. Tebow would have took a knee.
But I tell you this, and this is why, even though it got to this point, maybe it had to. Aaron Rodgers finally came out and said some things
about Colin.
Tom Brady finally came out and said something. And like I said, I'm not going to get into this because this is kind of where my Facebook went. And it was a very intelligent conversation, but I was a little disappointed with Drew Brees because, especially, and why guys get mad, if you play with black players and they see the things that happen to players or the
on campus, you deal with it.
Or even coaching staffs can get, I said, my head coach in college
especially
discipline the black players a little bit harder than discipline the white players for the same type of things.
My defensive coordinator was fired at Illinois for the way he treated the black players there. That was what got him fired, and that was recent. So it's not like people are making this stuff up. There are cases of this happening, and I'm not here to create a conspiracy.
No, but I'm just saying. But
sometimes people do go. You can't just put a race car. No, but like there are life situations that people need to be a little more sensitive.
But you don't have to put a race car. He can just. What I'm saying is his thing. He said, "I will never kneel." That's fine. But then you say, and I think no, sir, because now you're not respecting what they're, and you've been around it and seen it. So either your silent consent lets you say that's okay, that's not happening. And here's what it is. That's what guy said. That it made sense. Americans are appalled, but as long as it's, and they could be like, that's black people. But if it's not happening to them, it's just a story or a moment, and they move on. Nobody really does anything for other people unless it affects them. So,
some of those guys. I mean, for me, if I was in the NFL, that's not my issue. I never saw any of this stuff really that he's talking about, so I don't really have a horse in the race. So I just feel like,
and not saying that you're bad, but that's how most now. But also that's your reality.
So why would I take a stand? You know what I mean? Like,
but also you're not being a dick saying, these guys
shouldn't do it.
You just say, you know what, it doesn't affect me, so I'm gonna keep it moving.
There are black people that don't need. There's a lot of the majority of the NFL does not take a knee. Like, let's just get that out there.
Once they saw what happened to Kaepernick, a lot of them cats were like, no, I ain't doing that.
Why did each team have to all have the same decision to kneel?
Because it's about money.
But they did. That wasn't about the Colin Kaepernick. That's what we were just talking about. That's really
he came down to them owners and told them, trying to tell them, and here's what you do. What do all rich people do? Don't like. They don't like you telling them what to do, and you're starting to. And if Donald Trump, if you don't stop him where it starts, it'll affect your bottom line.
Nobody likes to be told.
No, I understand that.
The thing about Sunday was that this Colin Kaepernick thing is 18 months in, and no owner, nobody decided to do anything until Trump opened his mouth. So it obviously wasn't about what Kaepernick was about. It was about what Trump said, and that's where I think the message is getting lost. That now we got owners locking arms. Jerry Jones got down on one wretched knee, and he looked miserable doing it.
But it was before.
Yeah, I know. I think that was a joke, but stay tuned for that one. But it's like I said, they changed the agenda of what the main topic was about. Now it's turned into you're not going to tell me what to do, freedom of speech, when it was about bringing attention to a certain issue.
So let me ask you a question. Now that this is all out the way, should my man be able to get a job now?
I don't think it matters.
But I'm just saying though. But what is it not? Because there's still some guys said they like to sign him. Now that everybody took a knee, everybody lock arms, everybody's saying this is for this.
Please believe
my man
all
should
the
get a
knees
job.
don't matter. Colin Kaepernick knee is the one that people hate. Because he's the starter. Trust it. Whoever signed him, they're gonna catch heat because he was the originator of it. Honestly, and if you read, and this is what's crazy about social media and like this whole movement. We get so misguided in life situations because if you read the history of the Colin Kaepernick thing, he didn't even start with a knee. The dude started sitting on the bench. Yes. Right? He started sitting on the bench. His teammate, number 35, Reed came up to him and said, "Hey, this was a joint effort by Reed and Kaepernick." He said, "Hey, I respect what you're doing." I said, "And instead of sitting on the bench, how about we take a knee with the team in front?" That was Reed's suggestion, and they did it together.
But did you further into that story? Came out? Reed asked a military person. Yeah. And the military person said, "Take a knee. That would be more respectful." So now they're doing something that a military man told them.
But nobody knows this story. This is the part. All people know is Colin Kaepernick is a degenerate. Yeah. Or Colin Kaepernick is a no good N-word, or he's a son of a bitch. That's Colin Kaepernick. Or they don't know that it was another guy with him, and he asked permission from the military to make sure it wasn't respectful. All they say is it ain't respectful, and these people, and we the same people that'll sit on the couch and not. We don't. I mean, how often do you have something that people start screaming? Or this whole, like I said, it's about doing what I want you to do. That's your right is to do what I think is acceptable, not to do what you want to do.
Hey, that's what society. Last thing I'll say on this is, everybody don't like Colin Kaepernick. It's fine. We know Michael Vick's story, but you know Michael Vick's story. Michael Vick wanted to figure out, and this is wrong what he did, but he still played in the league. If you want to kill a dog, because they fight dogs down south, but it was like they hung him, they electrocuted him, they drowned him, they shot him, they stabbed him. He killed these dogs in horrible ways, and that's animal rights type stuff, and he still got a job in the NFL, and this man can't. And that's letting you know how race is behind it. You kill a dog, you hate him, but you let him play again. They got 10 minutes of heat, right?
10 minutes? He went to jail.
No, I'm talking about when the Eagles signed him when he got out of jail. Okay. I'm talking about the organization called about 10 minutes of heat, and then he throws an 80-yard bomb to Deshaun Jackson the next year, and all is forgiven because the Eagles are winning. But this man for 18 months can't get a job, right?
All is forgiven. There are people.
That's fine, but he was murdering dogs, bro.
I know.
They found 100 dogs buried in the property.
I don't think it was all forgiven necessarily.
But he's playing in the league. You know what I'm saying? And this dude took a non-violent protest, and he can't get a gig. And that's where, so I just want to leave it at that. And
the last thing I want to say is from what Turk brought up earlier is, wherever you stand on politics, I think it's the best place to get your information is definitely social media.
I got it this week. I put a story. Most of the time, I look into something and I was all caught up in the heat of battle, talking to people, and I saw this thing and I posted it. Mm-hmm. And one of my teammates hit me up and said, "Hey, that's not true." And I found out later today it was, so I took it down. And so really, there's so much stuff out here going on that once people get fired up with all that fake news stuff. But beyond that, let's get to the next one. We got to move on. The next controversial topic. Now, if anybody looked on social media for the show topics that I posted today, I put a messy picture up there that I found, and it clearly shows that your man was down.
Shut up!
That he got touched before he crossed into the goal.
Of course you would put that up.
I care about is if we're going to talk about an argument. Let's get
okay. Let me get out the way.
Let's go.
First,
no, go fanboy.
Listen, number one, the Lions. I don't know what you're doing throwing a 0-yard pass, and you need a yard. You might as well run the ball. Yeah, taking a chance like that.
Pushed it one more step.
But let's call a spade, all right? It was 11 seconds on the clock when he went down. They didn't review the clock. And the rule is a horrible rule.
No, it's not. That rule was put in place in 2009 to stop teams that, if that happened, they could have got up and ran a play. They could have spiked the ball. Because let's say there was 2 seconds left on the clock. They don't get that. Let's say they don't get that runoff and there's 5 seconds. They get up and spike the ball, and they got one more chance to win the game.
But listen, the rule says if the play is called, if they review the play and the call is overturned, right, you have to use a timeout. They overturn the play on the field, right? So why would if the refs caught the play incorrectly in the game, if they called the play correctly and the Lions run to the line and run a play and they blow the whistle, there's no runoff because the Lions are at the line call the play and they do the same. Because they called the play wrong and then they went back and got it right on replay, they run 10 seconds off because no timeout. It's a dumb. It's the logic in the rule is dumb because
I thought it was a touchdown. Until they show, so you can't. So because then we get back to the debate of what if they would have called him down, okay,
Yeah.
and then, but it was a touchdown.
I don't care if you thought it was a touchdown or not. The fact is that they got the call wrong. All right, so getting the call wrong.
Technically, they didn't because
technically he was short.
No, what I'm saying is it's an.
You mean technically?
No. What I'm saying is it's an automatic review. The refs.
Well, how did they? What do you mean technically they got it wrong? Was he short or not?
No. I'm sorry. That's not what I meant to say. Is technically they didn't do anything wrong because all scores are reviewed inside 2 minutes, or all scores are reviewed. Period.
It's their job to get the call right, though.
I understand that, but he scored. They called a touchdown, right?
But he didn't score.
But hold on, wait. They called a touchdown. They called it. New York reviewed it. It has nothing to do with the refs on the field. The refs called a touchdown, and it looked like he was in. So even you looking at it, New York says it's not in. It's not a touchdown.
Was he, when they looked at the replay, was he short?
New York said he was.
Okay, so the refs got the call wrong.
The refs called a touchdown. Well, what do you want him to do?
I don't care what I want them to do. I'm telling you, they got the call wrong.
If you flip it, if they said he didn't score and they don't get a playoff, and then they review it, and if they reviewed and they got a touchdown, you'd be happy.
You don't understand. If they call that ball short and the Lions are running to the line to get a fourth playoff, and they blow the whistle before they get the playoff, which the Lions are at they're at 1 yard away, they're gonna get a playoff in 10 seconds. If they're at that rule, that 10-second runoff should not be within inside the 10-yard line. It's a dumb rule. I understand it at the 20 across the field, but at the 10, and you need 10 seconds to run another play? Come on, NFL. That's the dumbest rule ever. We could run our play in high school in less than 10 seconds.
You can't set the rules and change it about yardage. You can't set it by yardage.
Why? Because you got longer area. In the red zone, that shouldn't be a 10-second rule. If your team's in the red zone.
It wasn't about the 10-second runoffs because they didn't have a timeout.
I know because it was a 10-second runoff because they didn't have a timeout. Yeah. I don't think it should be.
Do you think so? So let's just say they scored. There's 8 seconds left. Do you really? And you play football, and everybody get it. Do you think that they could have got a playoff? The
Lions threw a 30-yard pass, ran to the line of scrimmage, and down the ball in 7 seconds and got a 60-yard field goal to go in overtime and beat Minnesota. They ran like 30 yards with linemen in 7 seconds to do that. You telling me at the 1 yard line they can't get a playoff in 10 seconds? Are you serious? The fact of the matter is,
everybody was on the ground.
They got up. No, come on, man.
Hold on.
Come on.
I missed the game because I was working. So they reviewed the play. There was 10 seconds left, right?
There was 8 seconds left.
8 seconds left.
When they called it a touchdown, they called it in 8 seconds. But the replay actually showed us 11 seconds. So they didn't even go review that. There was 11 seconds left, so they even screwed up the clock.
So short of the
they run it 10 seconds. It's a dead clock. It's 1 second left on the clock. Okay. If they review it right.
But as soon as they play, he hits the whistle, they're going. They're not going to wait for them to line up.
No, it's not. It's not.
It is
dead. It is dead. It is.
Hold on.
So they run it 10 seconds, then they blow the whistle, and you start on the snap. They don't run 10 seconds and they start the clock. Bro, I'm telling you the rule. This
is what I'm confused about. All right, so they review the play, 8 seconds left, whatever. They say he was down. All right, so no touchdown.
They called it a touchdown on the field.
Right, and then they reversed it.
Yeah.
So then they just started running the clock?
Well, they didn't have a timeout, so what there is, because the rule is, it
would have been fourth down.
The rule is that if you don't have a timeout, it's a 10-second runoff because of the time that they say would have taken you to get up and get a play ready.
Oh, it's an automatic 10-second runoff.
If you don't have a timeout, but the problem is that that's because they overturned the call on the field. If they overturn the call on the field.
Hold on. So let's just get back to the whole point of this. In 2009, they created the rule because some things happened where teams and owners complained. So they changed the rule in 2009 to what it is. So now it doesn't work out for you. Now we want to change the rule again, and this is going to keep happening.
In 2009, they created that only what year did they create replay in 2 minutes? In 2 minutes by the booth.
I don't know. That's not what this is about. This rule.
It's a dumb rule.
Because it stopped teams from getting because okay, say the Lions didn't say. So here's what they did. Say the Lions were wrong, or I mean the referees were wrong. The Lions would before 2009 they had 8 seconds, and they would have started the clock and did that.
Okay,
that gave them maybe 2 plays.
It was 4th down, but either way, it's better to have 1 play. You still got to line up rather than the game is over. That's dumb, dude. That's so dumb.
I still don't know the reason for the rule in 2000.
It's a dumb rule, dude. It's a dumb rule.
So if prior to this, if the same game would have happened, the same situation, and they ruled it that it wasn't touchdown, they would have put 8 seconds back on the clock.
Then it got to be a touchdown. It could be in the middle of the field.
Back on? So
to
be 16 seconds?
No. It would have been because the clock ran out, right?
Okay.
So no, I'm sorry. When the play, I'm sorry. When the play was over, they had 8 seconds left on the clock.
Right.
So what would have happened is the review said it's not a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Like Turk said, they'd let them line up. And they'd have snapped the ball, and they'd have had 8 seconds left to run a play.
But it was 4th down. They had 1 play, and I don't think
they still got a playoff.
It's better than not having no play to end the game. This is a dumb rule. You know it's a dumb rule.
Tell me the rest of the rule. So why is there a 10-second runoff?
You don't even see Dom. It don't even make sense, dude. You can't even explain it right.
But why?
No.
What is the rule?
The 10 seconds is because they're saying that's and he's going to say
it's either 10 seconds or a timeout.
But it's 10. They figure it's 10 seconds for you to get lined up, get a playoff.
Which is ridiculous because the Lions have done it 30 yards in 7 seconds. And I guarantee if I just lined up 11 bum football players and we were at the 1 yard line and we didn't score, we could line up and get one more playoff in 10 seconds. I guarantee that. I'll put every dollar in my bank account on it.
They're reviewing the play. They're all lined up ready for a play.
Yeah. It's a dumb rule. Rocco's just a hater. He's a hater right here. The reality of it is, the fact that he is actually, the fact that he actually thinks this is a good idea. The Lions always get screwed by the aha rule. How many people knew this before? We was watching, it was well, honestly, he's short. And since they 8 seconds left, the game is over.
Wait a minute.
The announcer was like, no, is that real? And they didn't even know the rule.
What is that? What is Turk doing here today? Is if this was reversed and it was Julio Jones.
I still would have said it's a horrible rule. I guarantee. I would say I'm glad my team won, but that's a dumb way to end the game. It's a horrible rule.
But we got the W. You can be that's pretty bad.
No. My whole point is, if they got the call right on the field, they wouldn't have ran the clock off because you'd have one more play. If they got the clock right, if they got the wrong, if they called them down, Lions run to the line of scrimmage, and they about to snap the ball, and they blow a whistle to go review the play, and they review the play and realize they got it right. Then the Lions get one more damn play. How dumb is it that because the refs got the call wrong, that the game is over? If you don't think that's stupid, because they got the call wrong, the game is over. If they get the call right, the game's not over. If you don't think that's a stupid rule, then you're crazy.
I'm crazy.
You're crazy. Crazy.
All right, we got to go because we
got to go?
Hold on.
Go Lions.
So
Lions by 19 this weekend in Minnesota. Let's go. Payback.
The results of last week's week 3 results, I went 3-2.
Oh man.
Tampa, I had Tampa beat Minnesota. Tampa got up there and got mollywopped. I was close on my upset special. I had Houston beating New England and Tom Brady's miracle 3-second with Brandon Cooks hanging in.
18 years that no rookie quarterback has won in New England.
Really?
Yeah. I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that bad. None.
Got Dallas and Arizona correct. That went down to wire. Green Bay, Cincinnati. That was a great game. Especially, I don't know what was going on in that overtime play. My man's so wide open, 70-yard pass. And then I got Atlanta versus Detroit right. So I went 3-2.
2-3.
You went 2-3.
So what's the series?
So I really went 3-2. I really went 3-2. My Lions got robbed.
It's okay.
It's cool.
Turk's up by 1 game.
So it's 2-1 Turk.
No,
I'm up 1 game.
He's up 1 game now.
Oh, you're doing all games. You don't do it week to week.
Yeah, well, no, I beat him this week, but I'm just saying we're keeping it till the end of the season. Somebody gets
it's just games. It's not
yes, I will win.
I guess there's 16 games or weeks. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but we only do 5.
We pick the top 5 games.
Top 5.
Okay. So, all right, here we go. So, Turk, what we got? I'm trying to pick the best ones. We got Oakland at Denver. I've got Denver just because I think those DBs will neutralize their wide receivers in March, and their defense is pretty good. They've been holding up against the run, so I got them.
I've got Denver as well. My man Cooper, who I got in fantasy, has looked horrible this season. Oakland as a whole looked bad against the Redskins, and that Denver defense is scary.
Yeah.
So,
and if Simeon can just keep making plays,
all he got to do is not turn the ball over.
Yeah. Second game, I think this is going to be an entertaining game. It's Tennessee at Houston. I got Houston winning. I think I'm a little worried right now because Hopkins is questionable. He's got some kind of knee, something else. We'll see where his game time. But I think they're hitting on all cylinders. I think the added dimension of Deshaun running, but he's a pretty smart guy. And I think Tennessee is up and coming. We've seen they played a great season. I think this will go down to the wire, but I got Houston because they're at home.
I've got my Tennessee Titans. I play with them in the Man League, and although I'm not going to make the playoffs this year, we are going to be above 500. So 9-7 is about where they're going to finish. Maybe 10-6. Texas is going to win this game. Tennessee Titans.
Shout out to the Moet guys calling and telling us
Moet
how
18, Moet 18.
this season.
It's a lot. Let me just side note. We got like 27 users this year, and about 7 of them is bums, bro. 7 bums, and not by bums I mean bad players. I mean habitual goosers. We call it goosing, meaning you selected game time. If you don't make it, you're a goose.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of gooses in the league. So shout out to the gooses. Your days are numbered. Your days are numbered.
Here we got 2.
Your days are numbered. Go ahead.
We got 2 division. I thought they would both be better, but maybe it's because, like you said last week, that this is still technically the preseason for the starters.
Mm-hmm.
But we got Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Baltimore's got a great defense. Pittsburgh has a good offense, but they're struggling right now.
I am going to go with Pittsburgh in that game. I don't trust Flacco.
That's what I got. I got Pittsburgh. It's a shame because he's got some weapons. They don't have a running game. That's part of the problem. They can't. They're always in third.
But they do have a defense, man. Baltimore I can't even tell you.
And it's different
I
coordinators.
can tell you. Usually, I could name all their linebackers, 3 of their defensive linemen. I can tell you 5 players on that defense right now.
Me neither.
But they still ball. And that's crazy.
So when I was in Baltimore, I had to work Sunday, and I'm up at like 8 o'clock. And my alarm clock doesn't wake me up. All the people partying for the Ravens game because they were over in London, and they keep going, like Ravens. I'm like, what in the hell, you guys? And I'm like, what's going on?
You go to
the game's not till 1. They're like, no, it's in London. I'm like, oh my god, I can't even sleep in.
And they got whooped though.
Yeah, they did.
Next time you watch a Penn State game, listen in the background and just tell. And as you might not get a lot of you here a couple times, it's a little sound that goes. They played that every other play. The whole dude. It is so. I understand your pain when you hear that squawking and that. It is annoying as hell.
What about the toilet flush down at the Silver Dome they used to play? Remember that?
Oh yeah.
That's supposed to sound like a lion's roar. Yeah, it was terrible.
You know what? We need to stop realizing Rocco's not really a Michigan person. He's an Ohio dude.
I was born here. I
know, but you're not a Lions fan.
Because everything was
you're
in
not
net.
a Michigan fan.
I know. Because I'm not. How did I
You're
get
not a Tigers fan.
I don't like. I don't watch baseball.
See what I'm saying?
But listen, when I was a kid,
hockey.
I don't watch hockey. When I was a kid, the Tigers were terrible, like '84. But after
they won the World Series.
Yeah, but at that time,
Sparky Anderson, I used to go to all the games.
Okay,
how
old were you? 3?
I was a year younger than you, dude. My father used to take me to all the games.
I was 6, so you were 5.
I was on Trumbull
Did you know what was going on at 5 years old?
Yes, I knew. My dad took me to all the games.
I knew that. Okay,
this guy's serious right now.
Okay, let's talk about
the '80s Tigers. You wasn't that. Well, you was. So you
okay,
wait.
Whoa. After '86 on, they were bad from '86 until I got out of high school.
They weren't bad. They had a couple bad years, but Tiger Stadium used to be rocking, man.
Well,
You tripping?
I was a kid. I'm not rocking like
Sparky Anderson.
What about him? He was an old wrinkled dude.
He wasn't an older wrinkle than '85.
Listen, man. He looked like he was 90 for his whole career.
So you telling me you didn't know about Alan Trammell?
I knew who the players were. They was getting their heads kicked in.
Sweet Lou.
Yeah, I know all of them. Mike Heath. I know all these guys. I know what's going on, man. Come on, man. Listen.
Rob
we got
Deere,
the black
Rob Deere.
You're Rob Deere, Cecil Fielder, Mickey Telvin. Come on, I got all of it. But hey,
right.
couldn't tell you who the pitchers were because they were all trash. But all right, here we go. Black and blue division games. We got tonight Chicago at Green Bay. I picked Green Bay, but Chicago is I don't know how they're.
I don't know how they're doing it, but I got to watch this game tonight because Jordan Howard looked like a man possessed last week. I know
he dropped that touchdown against Atlanta, and he's been on fire kind of since.
But last week he looked like a maniac. So Green Bay is very vulnerable against the run. They still got Daquan Jones. I think is still out. I don't know if
Micah Hyde being gone was a big deal too.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was a big deal when they let him go. How they would miss him because he plays multiple positions, that nickel slot, and he plays safety.
But
he plays nickel
big.
Too. So Green Bay is susceptible to the run, and they're not a good defense. If you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, they were able to move the ball all over that team. I'm interested to see if Chicago had that same success tonight because Chicago's offensive line is pretty good.
And this is, even though
Jordan Howard's pretty good.
I don't consider pro rivalries the same as college. there is a lot of bad blood between these guys
yeah.
in this. So I'm going to say Mike Glennon is still garbage because of fantasy. If you just because you look at a lot of stats, he threw for 99 yards and an interception last week, and it's like, how did you beat these guys with Pittsburgh with that?
Hey man, Mitch Trubisky has got to be warming up.
You got to be getting ready.
Glennon is the biggest $14 million bum since.
But he's at a going rate. That's a bargain rate. So hey,
bargain rate 14.
All right, so here we go. Last one. Minnesota, Detroit Lions at Minnesota. I battled with this one, and I know that they announced today that Bradford's out, so I made my pick because I thought he was coming back. But the way Keenum played, but the one thing they can do which separates, they're at two things. They're at home.
This guy's a hater.
Then Dalvin Cook is really turning it on, which I wish we had him. A running game, and their defense is probably, to this point, going to be the best defense they played to this point in the season. I think their defense is a little bit better than Atlanta's as far as the physicality.
They're better than Atlanta, but I don't know if they're better than New York's.
They're not better. I take it back. They're not better.
Arizona's defense is pretty good, too.
It's pretty good, but
come on.
But here's the thing. We're going to find out how good Atlanta is because they're going to play a running attack this week. They're going to actually play the first team that has a real running back in Shady, and we're going to see what happens. But I think that I think it's going to be just like last year. Both Minnesota games were close. I think this one's going to be close. If your boy Ebron catches the ball, maybe they'll win.
This is what I think. I think that you got another week of tape on Case, the bum Keenum, and he comes back to reality. It's a reason that he's a backup. And if people don't know who I'm picking, forward down the field, a Lions team that will not yield. And when the blue and silver wave, stand and cheer the brave, rah, rah, rah.
Oh, you know, we might be getting that guy to come in here and make turkey.
Theo?
Yeah. So. All right. All I got to say here is one thing where I say it's just not more than just Case. Here's what you got. Dalvin Cook has run the ball. Play action was a monster last week against Tampa.
But
you're looking at
Detroit has a better defense than Tampa.
I understand that, but you got Rudolph. You got Thielen is very underrated. Diggs is coming to his own.
Yeah, I like Chad.
Now, Jared Davis supposedly he's coming back, but what I'm saying is, and I can't think of the other slot receiver they have. They've got some weapons.
Vontae Diggs and Darius Slay are two of the top-rated corners in the league. Vontae Diggs is playing lights out at the nickel. The other corner, I think Nevin Lawson, DJ Hayden are an issue. Safety-wise, Quinn is right there in the top three. Safety. Case Keenum will throw interceptions. All right, Lions are going to stop the run. They're going to make Case Keenum beat them. They're going to definitely make Case Keenum beat them, and I don't think he can.
All right, I'm going to blaze through this because you know what time's coming up after this. This NFL season, like Turk said, these first 4 games have been preseason, and this is the kind of the logic I have is sound, but guys just aren't. I don't know what's going on with these teams. I don't know what's happening. But my picks last week for FanDuel were awful. I did give you some nice ones though. T.Y. Hilton, which everybody kind of gave a grief about, but he had a huge monster game, and. If you did a DraftKings with the lineup I gave you, you would have won about $3, so you got some more chances to play some more games and win some more money. But basically, Wentz and Ertz came through. Titans D didn't. Antonio Brown came through. Ty Montgomery didn't. Hunt came through. Just the quarterbacks, you know, anytime you get a quarterback, he's under 20 points, you're not going to have a good week. And the defense, like I said, is really important. But with DraftKings, like I said, that gave you a couple dollars. So I'm going to run through this real quick for this week. Because it was such a bad week, I'm going to give you all of the FanDuel, everybody, and DraftKings, I'll give you everything but the flex. So here we go. So write it down. FanDuel, I got Dak Prescott, and I'm going to stack him with Dez Bryant. They're going against the Rams this week. The Rams are giving up a lot in the passing game. We have Le'Veon Bell. I think if you look at his stats, even though he hasn't been giving you huge fantasy numbers, each week he's getting better. So, again, he's getting into the groove of things. So I expect a big game, and this is a heated rivalry. We got Shady McCoy. You know, I don't want to say it's a risky pick, but he's going up against that Atlanta defense. We're going to really see if they can stop the run. Shady's been doing okay, but he does present a matchup problem with them. I have 2 surprises. You know, they're not highly expensive players. You have Jerron Brown, and the reason I said if you watch him Monday night, he had 1 touchdown call back, should have had 2 touchdowns. But with John Brown being hurt and J.J. Nelson's hamstring, you know, he's a speed guy, so that's going to slow him down. I think Jerron Brown, his ticks are going to go up because, you know, Larry Fitzgerald's going to get double, a lot of attention towards him. The other pick is Tyrell Williams. He was a rookie last year, big standout, big target for Phillip Rivers, and he's been slow to go, but I think playing against Philly and with Darby still being out, I think that's going to be a guy to go to. And For my tight end is Delaney Walker. He's really a receiver. He's getting 11, 10, 9 targets a game. Kicker Matt Bryant, he's been putting up the most fantasy points every week for a kicker. And for defense, we got the Bengals. I always say take anybody that's going against the Browns. Not that the Browns are sorry. They've been making strides for what they are, but Deshaun Kaiser's still a rookie, and he's throwing a pick in every game. So that's my FanDuel. Now, if you go to DraftKings, I have everything the same except for the tight end. We're going to go with Jesse because of the way the money's factor. We got, and for DraftKings, I'm actually giving the Thursday through Monday games, the PPR game. I'm sorry, not PPR. GPP games. So you got Dak Prescott, Shady McCoy, Kareem Hunt, Des Bryant, Jerron Brown, Terrell Williams, Jesse James from the Steelers, and the Bengals defense. I'll let you pick your flex so you can't blame me for everything. So those are my picks. Please don't call me a bum because I've only won you about $4 since we started this. But I tell you, it's a long season. When I won that $8,000, I won it in week 15. So
stay on. Hold on to that 4, ladies and gentlemen. Rocco gonna come through week 15.
Yeah,
let's go.
I'm gonna get you some money, but other than that, like I said, don't come me bum. That's safe for your man over here.
Bum. Welcome to another installment of Turk's Bum of the Week. And as we said earlier in the show, this week here created a lot of bum nominees. I mean, the list was endless. Whether it was Donald Trump and his rant to the NFL, whether it was Tristan Thompson and his reckless behavior with Khloe Kardashian, whether it was Rick Pitino and his outright refusal to admit any involvement in the NCAA fraud allegations. We had countless amount of bum nominations turned in this week, but my bum of the week is not to one man nor one woman. In fact, it is just to a group of individuals. We talked about earlier on this show about the whole situation with the NFL and how Donald Trump came out and said that, you know, any no good son of a bitch should need to get up and not or get out of his league, get out of the NFL. And this drew a lot of feedback. And all over the NFL this week, you saw players and owners locking arms in solidarity against a man such as Donald Trump. You know, these same owners, ironically, and I'll name them, Bob McNair of the Tennessee Titans, Robert Kraft of the New England Patriots, Shahid Khan of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Woody Johnson of the New York Jets, Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys, Dan Snyder of the Washington Redskins, and Stan Kroenke of the Los Angeles Rams. What do they all have in common? Each one of these individuals gave over $1 million to the Trump Republican Party for president. And no, I'm not downing them because that is their right, their God-given right to give a man a donation, because if they feel like he's the right man for the president, then they should donate. But that man they gave $1 million to, he also said that he would grab a woman by the pussy. That man they gave $1 million to called Rosie O'Donnell a fat pig. That man you gave $1 million to was the same man that went out and lashed about the situation in Virginia, about how there was both people on both sides of the Nazis and the left and the right situation. That man has shown time and time again he's been offensive. And until he called one of your players a son of a bitch, you had nothing to say but support. So I question, why would it be time to support a man in times like this when you have already put millions of dollars into his pocket? Why are you all of a sudden having to distance yourself? And I came to one conclusion, the bottom line about the dollar. And as I tell people all the time who boycott, and I've said this before, why you are a fool if you're boycotting the NFL is because you are not changing the morality of these owners. These owners only care about one thing. They care about dollars. They care about what that green says. And if that green says sign Colin Kaepernick, guess what? He would have been signed already. If that green says don't sign Colin Kaepernick, he wouldn't have been signed already. And this week's green said, disown the man you gave $7 million to. So while Jerry Jones got down on his crippled knee and looked like he was constipated in a move that he said he would never support a player getting on the knee, mind you, he didn't do it during the anthem, while Mr. Connor was in London and he joined with his players and he looked like he was constipated, while Mr. Snyder has always came out and he has distanced himself from the entire situation, while Mr. Kraft was one of Donald Trump's right-hand man, he had his, him and Brady had their Make America Great hats again on. This Sunday was a little different. They decided that enough was enough. Calling Colin Kaepernick or any player that kneels in my league was where I draw the line, not anywhere else. For me, that's a problem because these owners obviously show you they're all about the bottom line. They're about that dollar. And that dollar said, hey, we need to get these players, and we need to get on the knee. We need to lock arms, and we need to show Donald Trump that he's not going to tell us what to do because the money says I got to side with the players on this one. But let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks if they're still siding with the players when this thing dies down. I highly doubt it. So, you're in Dallas, you're in northern Florida, you're in D.C., you're in New York, you're in L.A., you may be in Boston, you may be in New England enjoying some clam chowder, and you're at a restaurant, and you see Mr. Kraft, and he's got a little bit of clam chowder on the side of his face. You walk up to him, you grab that white napkin, you wipe it off his face, you say, hey, Mr. Kraft, thank you for everything you do. I really appreciate what you did this week. But I know you may be a little short of money because wasn't too long ago you gave the same man that you disowned $1 million. And for that, here's $1, here's a cab. You, my friend, are a bum.
I like it. I like it. You know, like comes down to it.
That almighty dollar, man. It's the only reason the owners are doing anything. That's why, hey, I still watch my NFL. I do. I don't go for morality.
You know, we should have just changed up the music just for this week to Wu-Tang's Cream.
That is true. I'm sure Jerry Jones has probably got it on right now.
Hey, you know what? Pete, you know what the problem is, man? And I said this, a lot of this country is country. It's a lot of uneducated people. And sometimes when we're here talking about stuff, we live in a city, metropolitan area, a lot of, that's where your best education, your best schools, your higher, a lot of your populations in those cities. But once you get outside playing at Purdue, outside of Indianapolis and like Fort Wayne, it's all country. So you meet a lot of people, I sat in the classroom one time when a girl kept looking at me because, at that time my hair was long and sometimes I braided or whatever. And she just kept looking at me. So, you start looking at something, we got food. And then one of my teammates, and she kept looking at my teammates. So we're in the hallway. I said, hey, is there a problem? She's like, I just ain't never seen a black person in real life. I just didn't, And it made me realize that, there's some parts of the country are so secluded, and education is, who's ever teaching out there. So I think that, everybody's just getting the wool put over their eyes by a lot of people. And
people who listen to my Bum of the Week rant, I want them to understand that this is not a rant about Donald Trump. Excuse me. This is not a rant against Donald Trump because, like I said, if that's who you wanted to vote for the man. My rant is that this man, from my point of view, he said far more offensive things than what he said about Colin Kaepernick. Way more. Not even close. That was like.
But and I pray this too. One thing that you said, not only were they saying, okay, this is you starting to mess with my money, but I don't care who you are. If you gave the Salvation Army some money, right, and then they said something that offended you, you'd probably be mad, but you'd go back like, damn, I can't get that money back.
Yeah.
Like, I want my money. Like, if you get this man $1 million, now he turned on you.
Now he turned on you. Yeah. You kind of.
Salty.
If you didn't see this one coming, then shame on you.
What my man Bernie Mac say, just best believe when I see you, it's going to be a misunderstanding.
Pretty sad that I know what this is.
Wait till I tell Dom. Dom, you missed maybe one of the most classic things if you didn't get to listen to the podcast last week.
I couldn't hear my mic, my headset.
Yeah, no, don't go for that. So
you wouldn't hear it, man. It was real quiet.
Turn my mic up.
In the left ear.
So 2 weeks ago, I played the Purdue fight song.
Yeah.
And things went on. So I said, you know what, I'm going to take care of my man this week. I'm going to show him some love. So I put BG's fight song on. And so most of the time he tries to guess what it is. And he's playing it. Jay's sitting there and he's like, hey, what is this? And he's just looking, he's doing this, and he starts doing. And I was like, bro, that's your alma mater song. But you know, Western, if I played Western, which I'll get to,
Yes.
So I'm far removed from hearing the Bowling Green fight song. I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, anyway.
And I don't even remember it being played that much.
Could
Did we suck? Did we suck? I don't remember it being played that much.
You never got in the end zone? You never heard it?
Oh, man. I heard the cannon.
Well, the reason.
I heard Isaac Zumba. Okay, y'all don't want to hear it. Never mind. Go ahead.
The reason why I'm picking this music is.
BGSU. Go ahead.
No, this is somebody else's song, man.
Man, I'm sorry, man. Can we turn this crap off?
So,
sorry.
I picked that
I didn't mean to
music
yell.
It's off.
because.
Is it really off?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Because we got to talk about, and I brought this up especially for you because we don't get in too many heated
We
arguments.
about to get into a
but
heated.
we got into
We about to get
heated
to a heated you a chump argument right
so
now.
this weekend, if you know, and we'll get to the scores later, but I had picked Purdue and Michigan played last
This
week,
fool picked Purdue.
and it was a very good game.
What?
It was a very.
It was a
good
very
game.
good first half.
It was a very good 3 quarters.
No. How?
It was 10-7.
They had 10 yards in the second half. How they get through 3 quarters?
Listen, man, it was 10-7 going to the fourth quarter. Okay.
All right, man.
So anyway, the game, you know, Michigan wins. They had the better athletes, right? But
Took
so
them
it
to
shouldn't
Pound Town.
even.
Second half took them to Pound Town.
So fourth quarter took us to Pound Town.
The second half took them. You had 10 yards of offense in the second half. The second half they took you to Pound Town.
Okay. So you win the game, great, leave. All of a sudden, Monday, all we keep hearing is, "Oh, it's hot in that locker." Because you know it's been unseasonal.
God.
Their locker room doesn't have air conditioning.
I can't stand him. I
Oh.
hate his face.
Their
I
locker
can't
room-
even-
their-
Why?
locker
It's
room-
unsafe though.
Hold on,
Oh,
we'll get. So let me
Come
finish
on,
this before we
on.
start arguing. Let me just get to
Get
it.
out of here.
I don't like how they hit my quarterback and put him out on the first series.
He said it looked like a bad hit. It did look kind of shady.
Hey.
It looked shady.
Jeez.
The second guy coming in looked dangerous.
It's football.
It looked shady. He's supposed to protect his quarterback. It looked like a flag.
Well, they should know he's not supposed to. O-line's supposed to, and they didn't. It was a simple
wasn't even the
crossing.
man.
It was a simple Mike.
It wasn't the man that made the sack. It was the second man that came in.
Yeah,
at
that's
the
right.
end.
That's what do you think when I teach our
Well, he's
boys?
supposed to protect his players.
So now go ahead on your little. Your boy's crying.
Yeah.
He's defending him, which caught me off
I'm
guard.
not crying. I'm
Let's
not.
go.
Listen. This Sunday we played at CC, right?
Uh-huh.
The temp was almost 104. They almost had to shut the game down temporarily.
Once again,
Stop.
104. We played in that.
I'm just telling you what the rule is.
I got you.
Stop. Silence. We were in the visitors' locker room. This is our rival. This is our biggest rival, right? Because it was so hot that day, they offered the gym to us because it was a season unreasonably hot for the high school players. You put the Michigan football team, it's 90-some degrees outside in September, in a locker room with no air. These cats could have died, dude. You know how many players? I'm just saying, why is this not a safety concern?
2 things.
Are you serious?
2 things. CC, you even more bums in my book now because you know what? I wouldn't have sent him to the gym. Y'all can stand outside.
No, it was 100 degrees outside, been
so
on that
what?
field.
So what?
This guy, man.
Okay, secondly.
It's a safety concern.
Secondly,
No.
this is not a car where we rolled the windows up and said, all right, I'll be back. All right? Doors open.
There's no air.
ventilation.
It was the hottest weekend of the ever.
It was 89 degrees. It was 91 degrees there.
But okay. Let me. Rocco's got to put on his thinking cap because apparently he thinks that the college football kicks off July 13th or something.
Mm-hmm.
College football is the end of August to September. It's never 90 degrees up here for this type of weather. So it's
We played,
change.
but in the year we went down
I bet
the
you
third week
I
of
bet
the
you
season, we played Florida. It was
And I
95
bet
degrees.
you had your freaking braids sitting right underneath that air conditioner. You wasn't in there with no air. I guarantee that. I guarantee you wasn't in Florida with no air.
Hold on, I don't know.
Was you in Florida with no air?
Yeah.
You lying.
We was in the Citrus Bowl.
I played in the Citrus Bowl. They got air.
They didn't cut it on for us.
Well, then you a fool. Hit the button.
I was a kid. Listen, anyway, just for I don't know how the locker room is now. We on our locker room under the visitor side, there was no air conditioning.
You got to understand though that the games are not played in 90-degree weather up here, so it didn't become an issue till like. Okay, first off, Harbaugh said something. So you jumping on Harbaugh. Urban Meyer, of all people, agreed with him. The 2 biggest rivals in the Big Ten said, you know what, that Purdue locker room is terrible. Look it up. So are you saying that now it's an Urban Meyer Harbaugh thing?
No, Urban Meyer just likes to jump on anybody to help recruiting. Don't go to Purdue. They're a bunch of scumbags. Send your child here to me.
Agreed with him, but he didn't go and make a whole thing about it.
Because Harbaugh played there. And on top of the part he's missing is that this is the part that he's missing about. Mm-hmm. He said the locker room was too hot. It was not safe because of the temperature. And then when William Spate got hurt, there was no place to get an X-ray at Purdue. Look it up. That was part of the gripe that you didn't mention.
There's not an X-ray. Our stadium doesn't have
The
that.
bum of the week should have been
Okay,
the Boilermakers.
down,
And Brown.
down.
Boiler down. Boiler down.
Let's get this straight right now. It was not there's not an X-ray because our stadium is older, right? They kept it nostalgic.
I'm just telling
so
you,
they
kept it
went
nostalgic.
literally
No air.
they literally went a mile down the road and took him to the hospital, the on-campus hospital. They put him in and loaded him up. All right. So it's not like they had to drive to Indianapolis.
All I'm saying is that the Big Ten contract is the biggest in college football. They share the money, get a damn X-ray machine and some AC.
Okay, here's what now the X-ray machine, whatever. Here's what I told Turk, and you agree or disagree with me. I said this is all part of the game, right? This is all Notre Dame, Michigan State, Northwestern, Ohio State. Their visitor locker rooms are very uncomfortable. Let me tell you about Michigan State's locker room. Michigan State's locker room is probably as big as this studio.
But it's got air.
Hold on. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Maybe now, not when we play.
get dressed in the bus.
Wait, there's asbestos on the ceiling. Hold on.
Go sit in the bus.
They would have died even more.
Hold on, wait. So wait, listen. So not only are we
They
not
put 185 dudes on the
There's
bus.
AC on the bus.
hold on, time out. Stop listening to this man. Let me get this
Okay.
out. So people,
So you go to halftime, get on the bus.
Yeah, get your
So-
fat
so-
ass on the bus.
So we get into this itty bitty locker room. Now you have to have two guys sharing a locker, which is probably this big. Okay, two linemen, right? So we're already uncomfortable. Now
But did you die?
the trainers are over here. It was hot. We played them in the first week of August.
Who's got the pink? Who's got the pink? You didn't play.
That was
the
Iowa.
first week.
Yes, we did. We played Michigan State my first year, 1996. It was August 23rd or 24th. Was our
Oh, you
first
said
game.
first week, not.
It was hot and they had that new turf. That turf was a year old.
All right, finish. Robert.
Okay, so anyway,
Point is,
we don't
Rocco's being a homer.
No, we're just saying that make things uncomfortable. So, guys keep telling me before we leave the hotel, if you gotta go to the bathroom, go down. Like, what? They don't have toilets in the visiting locker room. If you gotta go to the bathroom, go down. Like, whatever, man. Get there, gotta go to the bathroom. Walk, open the door up. Right, there's a little door going. There's old style trough to urinate. Now,
like a trough.
okay, wait.
If he ever
wait.
went to Tiger Stadium, he would have saw.
But wait, no, I'm not worried about
That
that.
guy don't know anything about history because he's not a Michigan man.
That doesn't bother me. I've seen that many times. The thing that got me was all the toilets. There were 10 toilets lined up next to them, like military style. No doors, no stalls, no anything. Now, when they open up the door to come in, all the girls that are taping the training room is right there. So so what they did was you're away at a game. I'm not trying to make you feel comfortable. I don't want to give you I want to make you feel as uncomfortable as possible. Notre Dame is the same way. A lot of these Big Ten and the other places that we've played at, visiting locker rooms were not amenable. Like as far as to make you feel comfortable. So he wants to say, hey, there's no air conditioning. Listen, you know before you go to halftime what halftime is coming. Have somebody go open up some doors. Ask for some fans. Because you know what? We played Wisconsin when it was -9 outside. You know what they did? We didn't have any heaters on the sideline. And then they said,
Wait,
all you do is ask for them when he gave you some.
So they get urinals and like sit down toilets.
So here we go.
The
Like
girls can see you.
Imagine this. Here's the door. Here's where the door's at.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the trough urinal, and here are all the toilets like this, facing that way.
No stall doors.
No stall doors. And so when that door swings open, all the girls are right there taping. So they can just
Sounds
right in
awesome.
like 3 dudes just sitting there going to the bathroom.
Oh my god. Word.
So,
Yeah. So it's, I know what you're saying. I know the type of locker room that you're talking about, but I can't stand Harbaugh. I never could.
I'm losing. I didn't have a problem with him at first because I thought it was all, but what I'm finding out is that what you see even on game day, is how he is when he walks around the facility. It's not a facade. It's not act.
Yeah.
He is a mental case.
Right.
He might win some games, but he does whatever.
Great coach. I can't stomach him.
It's too much. And here's the thing, if the game, the question is this: if the game was 28-7 Michigan at halftime, would this be an issue?
No.
It was 10-7 Michigan.
To make an issue about.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's 10-7 Purdue. Sorry, it's 10-7 Purdue.
To make an issue about a locker room, you got to be kidding me.
And you're talking halftime is 20-minute halftime, but you're only really in there for about 10 minutes because the other 10 minutes you come up and you start warming up again. So 10 minutes you're in there drinking your your Gatorade and eating your orange slices and doing whatever little reviews you have to do, and then boom, you move. And I guarantee there's probably some fans in there.
And like Purdue's going to be like, okay, Mr. Harbaugh, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let me take care of you.
Yeah.
But like I said, it comes back to the rant. this is sports, man. Okay, everybody, you hear the legendary story. Yes, you go into Iowa and you go upstairs in their locker room and everything is pink. Everything. Floor, walls, seats, lockers. Then you walk down the steps to go to the secondary locker room steps, everything pink. You walk in the second, there is not another color, even in the shower, stuff is painted pink. It is supposed to psychologically make you feel inferior, okay? So that would be like me saying, hey, this isn't that fair psychologically, and they have a pretty good home record, right? They have a pretty good home record. That's what they decided they want to do for competitive advantage. So I don't have a problem with it. Now, if you're talking about danger, then yeah. But listen, everybody, we live in Michigan. We've had 100-degree days. High school we played. We've had practice. He had like 91 degrees was.
We've had 10 below.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Like if you're talking, and even he said it was 104 degrees. You can play at 104. You really want to watch the humidity. You want to watch the heat index. Now, if it was 104 and the heat index was 120, yeah, we gotta go sit down. But these guys, these trainers, everybody's watching things within a reasonable rate. So just get off of it.
Yep.
So all right. So and we had talked about this before. This is another thing that I ranted about a couple weeks ago, is the targeting. And I'm not going to get into, I explained what it is and what it does and how it is officiated. Well, right now, the number of targeting fouls at this point last year has drastically gone up. And last week, I think I watched 7 college football games. 5 out of the 7 had at least 2 players ejected in that game. Most of them in the second half. So what that's going to do is that's going to affect this week. And some of them were, like in the Purdue game, they had guys ejected back to back. They had a linebacker and then they had a safety. Back-to-back plays, they were ejected. Those were 2, and not saying that we would have won, but those were the kind of the middle of our defense. And Purdue, all of a sudden, they start running the ball, and what do you know? Chris Evans breaks one up the middle of the field. So as I always said, that these rules are going to affect the outcome of games. Here's what you do. If you see a guy who has the intent to hurt somebody, then yeah, and it's really, you look at it and say, okay, he was. But some of these are bang-bang plays, and guys' helmets are colliding because someone's changing. But guys are getting thrown up, and you got to stop it. What are your thoughts? Because it's playing football, man. We wear helmets for a reason. What do you think?
On the targeting thing?
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
Or at least the ejection. If you want to get a penalty fine, maybe he's got to sit down that series. I don't know. But you're throwing him out. Some guys are getting kicked out first play of the game.
Yeah. I don't understand it. I feel like it's one of those things like helmet to helmet where you could call it on every play almost. Like how do you tackle someone without your helmet hitting their helmet? Unless you dive at their feet.
And if here's the other thing. If that player is lowering his strike zone,
right,
and you're already in your approach, and he puts his head down, what about them getting a flag for an offensive back or receiver initiating contact? It's always the defensive guy that gets blamed.
I absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't understand that rule. You can call it on every single tackle. Like I said, unless you dive at their feet, and then now you got a face mask hitting a kneecap. It's far more dangerous to me.
Absolutely.
Like I don't see why that's even a rule. I don't think it stops concussions necessarily. I don't know. I haven't seen any science on it. It seemed like a good rule at the time, like the NFL and I guess college.
The NFL instead, because those guys were, and I did it too, because it wasn't. I did it. I made sure I was safe. I used my helmet as a weapon.
Oh, sure.
I knew the top of my helmet or at the right angle could inflict the most damage. They stopped that. They didn't want guys were getting knocked out in games because you're talking the speed, the strength, the power. So they want to do that. But then when the concussion era hit and everyone was so worried about lawsuits, now it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like I said, the defensive side of the ball is the only side being affected. And if you're playing a high power, let's say those guys from Purdue don't get taken out of the game.
Right.
And now it's still 10-7 Purdue. Or maybe it's 14-10 Purdue, and we have the ball. It's a little more, but once you get, they got to do something about it. And the rules, even when I did a rant a couple weeks ago, the rules, even to me as a person that played football and as a coach, it's too much room for interpretation.
Right.
And either you lock it down flat out here it is or what. But
The
I don't
players aren't winning the games. It's almost like it's the refs. They can throw anybody out at any time almost, it feels like, to me.
Yeah.
I'm not calling for conspiracies, but it just seems like the ref has too much say in who's staying in the game.
I guarantee what'll change it is if they start doing that for offensive players. What happens if Clemson and Alabama are playing national championship in the second quarter? Jalen Hurts has run the ball and he lowers his head and then they toss him out the game.
Yeah.
Now you think Nick Saban would go crazy, and so the thing is, it doesn't affect offense, doesn't necessarily affect the star person that has the outcome. So no one cares about it. It's just like, at least do it like the NFL, or give them like the NFL does. You get 2 personal fouls now, and they eject you. So, okay, he gets hit with a targeting. Okay, give him the 15-yard penalty, and if you get one more, you're gone. I could live with that, but right off the bat, okay, you're out. 3 plays. There's a guy the other day who was on kickoff. He's a star player. He was on kickoff, tackled a guy, threw him out. Because now here's what you get into: gambling, referees rigging games.
Right.
Hey, I need whatever to get him out of the game. We need to get Ray Lewis type player, guy who controls defense side of the ball, get him out the game.
Right.
We need to get this point spread up, and we got a corner, their best corners over there. We got to get him out the game so old boy can flourish. So I think they really got to take care and fix that. All right, I'm going to go over our results for last week in the games. Did not do well. I don't know why I'm struggling in college. A couple upsets happened, things that I definitely didn't see. But we got our TCU-Oklahoma State game. Obviously, Oklahoma State was heavily favored, and TCU went in there and creamed them. And that was a shock. So I got that one wrong. Mississippi State and Georgia, I thought it would be a closer game. I did pick Georgia to win. I thought it was going to be closer. Georgia blew them out 31-3. Maybe Mississippi State still had a hangover from their big win the week prior. This one is probably the biggest one that I got wrong, which was the Notre Dame-Michigan State game. I had Michigan State winning. I thought it was probably going to be an old school game, maybe a 2017 game, something like that, more of a defensive battle. And Michigan State outgained them in almost all yardage, but too many mistakes, too many turnovers, and Notre Dame got rolling. They never looked back. I believe the score was 38-10 on that one. So obviously I went with my alma mater, Purdue. I said that was my college upset special, and they almost pulled it off. But Michigan just was too strong in the end. Obviously they have the better players, and they came through and won that one. And then probably a game that I thought was going to be a slobber knocker and one old school Big Ten game ended up being quite entertaining. It was Penn State versus Iowa, especially the last probably 8 minutes of that game where they went back and forth was pretty good. So I got that one right. But like I said, finishing the week off 2-3, and Turk got me. He got me 3-2 again. So he's still up now he's up by 3 games. So I got to close that gap in college, which I will. It's a long season. So, but our top 5 games we're going with this week. We got tomorrow night, number 5 USC versus Washington State. It's at Washington State. A little nervous because I picked USC. USC does not do well on Thursday and Friday night games, especially on the road. So, and Washington State just has that gimmicky offense, and they have Luke Falk, who's a pretty good quarterback in himself. But I'm going to go with USC, better players, and I like Darnold. Georgia and Tennessee. Tennessee's doing okay. They've been winning ugly, but they've been winning. But I think Georgia with Fromm, Easton's still out, but Fromm's in there. I see Georgia steamrolling them. Mississippi, the big matchup. There's 2 big ranked matchups this week. It's Mississippi State versus Auburn. I know that Auburn's at home, but I'm going to take Mississippi State on the road. You take that type of thumping, I think these guys are going to come back, and Auburn's offensive line is just very bad, and they need to get that figured out, or else they're not going to win too many games. For the home crowd, we got Iowa at Michigan State. This is a big game. I think it is kind of must-win territory for them. Iowa losing a heartbreaker last week, and then Michigan State getting blown out. I think whoever wins this game is how their season is going to be shaped. I think Michigan State, it'd be a good win for them going into playing Michigan next week, or Iowa trying to win their get back to the championship on their side of the bracket. And the big game of the week is number 2 Clemson versus number 12 Virginia Tech. I am picking the upset. Virginia Tech has a very, very good quarterback and always has a good defense under Bud Foster. And I think that this will probably be, I don't think Louisville is as good as everybody thinks. I think this will be the game that's going to really tell us who Clemson is. And I think that I'm gonna pull Virginia to their at home, so I'm gonna give them the edge, and I really like their quarterback. So we will see what that is. But like I said, I got Virginia Tech in the upset. Purdue this week is on a bye, so no noise from us. We'll be playing Minnesota next week. Bowling Green has been getting just the hammer. They've been getting taken to the woodshed. They're playing Akron this week. Akron's not a great, they're not world beaters, but I voted for my man's school to win. We will see if Bowling Green will take it. And your guys are, ever since that they lost the first 2 games of the season, pretty good comp, but they won last week, and they're 2-2 now. So they have MAC play open up. They're playing with Ball State. I'm going to take Western Michigan over Ball State. So we shall see how that is going to end up. But that is, ladies and gentlemen, your week 5 top game picks, and we'll follow up next week to let you know and see what I got right and what we got wrong. All right. Well, I did better this week. I've been doing pretty good in the high school. I finished with a winning record this week. Not what I want. I was finished 3-2, but there was a couple surprises, and then there weren't. So the surprises got me though. I think too much and use my coach mind too much for some things. But we had Rochester Adams last week. One of our top 5 games. Rochester Adams versus West Bloomfield. West Bloomfield stumbled out the gates, and they've won some pretty tough games. And so Rochester Adams was probably, I feel, maybe one of their bigger tests left on the schedule. So I picked Rochester Adams because I thought maybe the Clarkston win would have had these guys maybe being a little too full of themselves. But they beat Rochester 17-6 and took care of took care of business, and I lost out on that one. We had Eisenhower versus Romeo. Obviously, Utica Eisenhower looks like they're going to be a special team this year, and they went up to Romeo and beat them 34-0. Romeo's been a pretty solid team the last 2 or 3 years, especially competing for state titles. We had De La Salle versus Orchard Lake St. Mary's. De La Salle looks like they're the best team in the Catholic League, the most complete team. Have a pretty good quarterback, a solid O-line, and they always have a pretty good defense. They stumbled the first game against Lowell, and they've really kind of been in the driver's seat in every game they've played. They went out and beat Orchard Lake St. Mary's 26-7. I guess maybe when we have guests on the show and get to know them, I start maybe catching feelings and feeling good about their squad. So Divine Child and UAD played, so really liked Elijah Collins, thought they had a really good team, and they've been in some games, they've been losing, but they've been real close. But I said, you know what, they're going to play Divine Child. I know Divine Child is Theo Day, and he's been doing pretty good. But I said UAD, kept it close with St. Mary's and CC and even Rice. So I said, hey, you know what, these guys will get it now. They'll get back on track. Well, Divine Child, if you want to call it the upset, beat them 29-24. So that was a game that I got incorrect. And the last game that we had was one of the biggest rivalries in the state, the longest running rivalry in the state, between Brother Rice and Catholic Central, the Boys Bowl. It was on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And it was a pretty good game, back and forth. Neither team is really, I would say, of what they used to be, but still, entertaining game. A lot of people there. It was a hot day. CC was, if you want to say it was thrilling, CC pulled out a victory late in the fourth quarter, beating Brother Rice 27-23. And that was, so I finished last week at 3-2, and Turk as well finished 3-2. So he's still up by 1 game in the high school. So closed the gap in high school and college, but he winded in the pros. In college, but I'll catch up. Trust me, I'll be victorious at the end of the season. But I really want to get into this week's picks before we get out of here. Is not a lot of great games, but some good games. We have, number one, we have Bell undefeated. Both these teams are undefeated. We have Belleville versus Fordson. I'm going to go with Belleville. They got a great program that they're building up there, a lot of athletes, a lot of talent, and I think this is a year that they're really going to make some noise. I see them beating Forts, and I think it'll be close in the first half. I think Belleville will pull away. Next game is we got Rochester Adams back on versus Southfield A&T. I look at Rochester Adams bouncing back from their 1-point loss to West Bloomfield and get back on track. We have Divine Child versus De La Salle. I just think De La Salle is going to be too much for Divine Child up front. Push him around, then work on run the ball, and then get a little play action in there. So I see De La Salle winning big again. Oak Park versus Berkeley. I think Berkeley is a sneaky team, but I like Oak Park, like the talent, like their quarterback. I got them winning I think it'll be a runaway game. And the last pick of the week that we'll have is Brother Rice versus Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Both teams are struggling in the Catholic League. I do believe Orchard Lake St. Mary's is pretty much out of playoff contention. Rice has to win every game from here on out to do that. And just with Rice has mounting injuries and just really seeing the game, looking at just a lot of holes that they have. They were talent depleted anyway, but then with some injuries, I really see, and then the game is at Orchard Lake St. Mary's. I see Orchard Lake St. Mary's winning and shutting the door on Rice's playoff hopes. But it'll probably be a good game, probably two evenly matched teams as far as talent. Orchard Lake St. Mary's has a lot of talent. The skill position is not very big on the line. And Brother Rice's offense is still not, it actually looked like it was clicking this week, coming together. And we'll see what happens. But defensively, a lot of holes, a lot of problems in the secondary. So we shall see. But I got Orchard Lake St. Mary's. So hopefully all these picks go right. I'll get you Turk's picks. He had to get out of here, but I'll get his picks, and we'll see once again if I can pull ahead of him on our high school picks and show who has the best knowledge. But just want to thank you for a great show. We got a really good show next week. We have West Bloomfield's coach and their players coming in to sit down and chat with us and see how things are going with them and how the rest of their season is going to go. Also, we'll again continue with our high school, college, and NFL picks and keep you updated with what's going on next week. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, from the stories you brought you today, a lot of fallout and see what happens. And then also get some calls in there, see if you guys, how you did in your fantasy, if I won you some money. I'm telling you guys, you stick with me, you're going to hit it big. So definitely give me a call in or keep emailing us so let me know how your season's going, especially with the DraftKings and FanDuel, and we'll do that. But just wanted to let you know that, hey, if you're over in Royal Oak, head down to the Beirut Palace at 205 South Main Street. Ask for Mo and tell them you heard about the restaurant on the Rockin' Turk Sports Show and get 10% off your meal. They have great sandwiches, kebabs, salads, hummus. They can also cater. So any of you sports fans listening out here for high school games, they cater before, after games. So give them a call. Ask for Mo. Give them a call at 248-399-4600 or go to their website at www.beirutpalace.com. Do it today. And as always, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Blaze, our show was brought to you and sponsored by Blaze Contracting.
To you in part by Blaze Contracting Incorporated. Blaze is a heavy civil site contractor that self-performs mass surgical excavation,
You want this outro?
aggregate installations,
Junior Mafia one?
Yeah.
storm sewer, sanitary sewer, and water main installations.
Still should
Michigan, Ohio,
say one of your sponsors is
Blaze
rock
has
solid.
successfully
I
completed
was writing
projects.
I got to write something up for real quick. I'm gonna do that next week before the high school.
Yeah, high school, right.
And across America.
That's what I was gonna say.
Currently, Blaze has several major projects going on in Metro Detroit, including the new Little Caesars headquarters building, the Detroit Brush Park development, the Flexing Gate Auto Supply plant, and the new Little Caesars Red Wings Arena. Hey, sports fans, if you're out there listening, and you are involved in the development, construction process of upgrading, improving exterior property or infrastructure, you need to give Blaze a call. They can provide valuable assistance from the beginning stages all the way through the budgeting, design, and of course, the construction process phases of your project. You will experience the administrative ease provided by Blaze that will ensure that your project will be completed on time and within budget. Allow Blaze to light the fire for you that paves your road to success. Give them a call today. Call 313-361-1000 or visit their website at www.blazecontracting.com.
All right, well, that concludes another show. That was show 23. I'd like to thank everybody for listening, following us on social media, and following us on Facebook Live. Continue to get the word out there. We're doing pretty good. Numbers are really good for podcast re-listens and live listeners. So just continue looking to bring in more people, let them experience this Rockin' Turk Sports Show on the Echo Network. But definitely join us next week. We'll have a lot to talk about. Like I said, exciting interviews. Got a couple people coming on, maybe even a special guest. Be finding out who he is. I think it'll be a favorite, especially for all you Michigan fans out there. And then also, once again, giving you a rundown on all of the week's scores, highlights, and updates. And also just see what the fallout is from the rest of this week, because I just guarantee the way the week's going, I guarantee you our president's going to say something that's going to put his foot in his mouth, especially when it comes to the sports world. So thanks a lot for listening. Continue to listen to us, follow us. Please go to our YouTube page and subscribe. And until then, I'll see you guys next week.